Welcome back, folks, to the WP-Tonic show. This is episode 609. We've got our old guest. He is a regular on the WP-Tonic Roundtable show, a friend of the show, a personal friend. We've got Chris Badgett back on the show. So, Chris, would you like to quickly give us a 20-second intro to the new listeners and viewers?
Sure. I'm Chris from LifterLMS, and we help WordPress professionals build better online learning environments.
That's great. They've got a new update, LifterLMS 5.0. They've got some other new services and technologies, and we could probably have a chat about how Chris sees WordPress, the latest developments with Gutenberg, his own company's position when it comes to Elementor and the other page builders. It's going to be a great conversation. I also got my co-host, Stephen. Stephen, would you like to quickly introduce yourself?
Yeah, it's good to be back. My name's Stephen from zipfish.io. We make WordPress fast by optimizing the code that runs WordPress and the code that runs on the server.
Yeah, last week was a great interview, wasn't it, Stephen, with Rand, wasn't it?
It was, yeah. I enjoyed it.
Yeah. Before we go into the main part of the interview, I want to mention one of our great major sponsors. That's Castus. If you're looking to get into podcasting yourself, or you've got clients that are looking to get into podcasting, you will need somewhere to host your audio files, produce the RSS feed, and a host of other minor things that you need doing. You can do all this yourself, but it's great to have a centralized place. Castos is just fantastic. I moved to them a couple of months ago from a previous platform. What I love about it is the simplicity, but the power of the interface that they have built. They're WordPress people. Matt Medeiros is the head of the marketing and customer support. They're just a great company with a great leadership team. So I suggest that you're looking to get into podcasting for yourself, or you've got clients, you go over to them, have a look at what they've got to offer, and sign up for one of their packages. And if you do that, please, can you tell them that you heard about them on the WP-Tonic show? That really helps the show. So let's go into the main part of the interview. So, Chris, Lifter 5.0, what are the main features and improvements in the major update, Chris?
Well, one of the main players in a learning management system is the learner, and learners are different. You know, they're each person that uses an LMS or membership site or course, whatever you want to call it, to learn something or be coached or get access to content, they have different data around who that person is. And basically, what makes an LMS more advanced than just a membership site has a lot to do with the M in the word LMS, which is for management. In order to manage a learning experience, you need to have a lot of data around things like progression tracking, grades, how much of a video somebody's watched and stuff like that. These are all features that LMS like LifterLMS brings in. And what we found is people kept asking us, they wanted to be able to more customize the information that they could collect and display about students. And not everybody, when you think about registering on a website, you have, often like an email address, first name, last name, choose your password, maybe a shipping address, your phone number. But with WordPress, especially being so customizable, people really want the flexibility to design the options around user information. So what 5.0 is it allows people to, using the WordPress block editor, structure the three main forms, which most people just think about the checkout form or the enrollment form, but there's actually other user forms like the edit account page and open registration. But people can customize this enrollment flow as much as they want to from a data perspective, the text you see on the screen, the order of fields, the the requiring and hiding. Basically what we did is, if you've ever used Gravity Forms or Formidable or WP Forms and Ninja Forms, and you've used their user registration add-on, which is like a form builder for user fields, we just built all that right into LifterLMS with 5.0. Not only can you create these forms and collect this data, though, we also built a shortcode system based on the feedback from our community, where people could take this data and display it in other places, like on certificates, emails, even on pages of the website, achievement badges, text messages. All this new shortcode system just makes it easy for a non-developer to just display dynamic user information wherever they like. And then one more thing, just in concert with 5.0, is going back to the customizability that people want for managing this enrollment. They also wanted the ability to build unique forms for like different courses, different memberships. You know, maybe there's an access plan, like a pricing option that's more expensive for coaching, and you want to collect a lot more information. Basically, we had the ability to do custom forms and custom fields, meaning that the problem that we ran into is people would want, well, I need to print my continuing education student's license number on the certificate. Well, we didn't have a feature for that, but now we do with our custom fields. When they enroll, they enter their license number, and then they have a shortcode that they can choose to put that information on the certificate. So 5.0 is more of it's a little more technical of a release. It's a little more geeky, but it adds a lot of power for dynamic personalization, or just really just the collection and display of any user data you would like.
Yeah, before I throw it over to Stephen, I'm getting the impression that this particular version is aimed at the power user stroke developer type. Would you agree with that, what I've just said?
I think it's actually aimed at both. Like, I'm thinking of Angela Brown, who's a regular user of ours, who teaches cleaning, people starting cleaning businesses, how to basically grow that kind of business. And she really wanted a company name. She wanted a company name field. And we had a technical documentation on how to create your custom fields with code. She wasn't having any of that. So she's super happy. But also a power user could get really advanced with this kind of stuff.
I wasn't, I meant actually both a power user and a developer. I wasn't, I didn't word that well. So
it's really for both. And it's kind of like CRMs and tagging, though. You could get yourself into trouble here in the sense that you need to have a strategy around, like, make sure you're collecting the data that you need. And if you're going to start reusing these fields all over the place in different areas, you got to have a strategy around how to do it. So.
Just one quick follow-through question about the form builder. Was there a lot of internal discussion between you and your Tom and your other key members of your team? Because there are some very powerful third-party form plugins. You know, Gravity Forms has just recently upgraded. You've got Fluent Forms, and you've got about half a dozen others. So why did you think you needed to increase the form functionality, the inbuilt form ability, when you got some very powerful external plugin systems that deal with forms?
Well, we also have integrations with those form systems. So you can still use a Gravity form or a Ninja form inside of a lesson and require it to be completed and so on. But what we found is that people really want an all-in-one solution. And in our marketing, yeah, we do talk about all-in-one, but the reality is you still need some extra things here and there. Like, I know we're fans of WP Fusion here as an example. It's a great tool. We're not going to build WP Fusion. But people just wanted a native solution. Like, user data information is pretty fundamental to LMS. So it's almost expected that people, really want to hear. And also we did something, even Gravity Forms, the new version is awesome. And it looks great and it works really well, but it's not built on top of Gutenberg. We built our form system directly on top of the native Gutenberg.
Well,
Thomas was really pushing the boundaries here, and it's really innovative what he's been able to do with the new block, or it's not new anymore, but the block editor.
Yeah, well, that opens a whole group of other questions, but I'm going to throw it over to Stephen there.
One quick question about the form system that you guys created. To pull information out of that form, like if you're trying to get a company name and then you want to display it somewhere on your website, is that what the short code? You said you increased like the short code stuff that you're using short codes to do that?
Yes.
Okay, cool. So like you can create that custom entry, that custom form, and then create that short code, and you can put wherever you want to display that data, however you want, wherever on the site, essentially.
Yeah, like for example, here's another example. Even like on the top of the user dashboard, it could say something like, "Hi, Stephen from Zipfish. What do you want to learn today?" Like you can create that kind of personalized experience here, and your certificate of completion we've always had like the name and the completion date and all that, but you can just get kind of fancy with certificates and whatnot.
Yeah. That's cool. Was it a hard decision to decide to support Gutenberg? I feel like everybody's at this like place where it's like, okay, do I keep building you could have built your own custom form solution, right? You could have not put it inside of Gutenberg. You could have had some sort of admin panel where you drag and drop your forms, and it's just a form thing for forms. It has nothing to do with Gutenberg. And then integrate it with short codes into Gutenberg or however you want to do it. Was it a hard decision to build your form system inside of Gutenberg, or was that a very obvious choice for you guys?
It wasn't easy, but it was the obvious choice. And let me explain. I mean, we had the ability before to basically on a settings panel, you could like hide or require certain form fields of the default ones that just came with Lifter, but it was not in any way a WYSIWYG, what you see is what you get experience. Like the block editor is more like you're looking at as you build a form, it looks exactly like the form that your users are going to complete. It may not be completely styled inside your theme or whatever, but you can really see what you are creating. So from a user experience, instead of some LifterLMS settings panel like tucked away somewhere with some checkboxes and radio buttons, you could actually, if you're comfortable with making content with blocks, you could move, readjust, retitle these form blocks. And if you look at something like, if I just look across the LifterLMS community, I hear more and more talk about the WordPress block editor, Gutenberg, less talk about the page builders. So like going with WordPress, the way the core is going, I think is just a smart decision, especially because the WordPress itself is so big and so many people are working on it. Instead of building like a parallel system with just our small team, why don't we just hook on to this wagon? And I mean, that's really what the open source kind of bazaar community thing, the cathedral and the bazaar, that whole thing, that's what it's like kind of all about. And who knows what innovation is going to come down the line from WordPress core or other block systems that are going to make just by default our forms even more powerful. So don't fight the like I don't like to fight the core. And as an example, we built our course builder, which is like a block builder thing before Gutenberg came out. So we have a like a parallel system, one screen, like course builder thing. One day it'd be nice to put that all inside of Gutenberg. So you can do it separately as well. It's not necessarily make for a bad experience. It's just more of a long-term strategy thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, we need to go for our break, actually. So we're going for our break, folks. And when we come back, we'll be continuing this great discussion with Chris Badgett, the joint founder of LifterLMS. Be back in a few moments. We're coming back. We've got Chris, the friend of the show, back. It's always great to chat with Chris. He's very knowledgeable about business and the WordPress ecosystem in general. Before we continue our interview, I just want to talk about one of our other sponsors, a new sponsor. That's Peach Pay. Now, if you're looking to set up, if you've got a WooCommerce website for yourself or for a client, and you're looking for a quick, easy way of improving the checkout methodology or experience, Peach Pay really offers a quick way of doing it. It's a free plugin. Go over to Peach Pay. It's peachpay.app. There's all links on the WP-Tonic website. Have a look at it. I think you're going to be impressed for yourself, or if you're working with clients, like I say, go and have a look at it. It really does improve the WooCommerce checkout experience. So, Chris, how, you got increasing with the 5.0, you got increased functionality that's inbuilt with Gutenberg, but we are dealing with a very, at the present moment, none of us know how this is going to all turn out. We've got a very fragmented situation. We've got Elementor, Beaver Builder, we've got all the Divi people, we've got other page builders like Oxygen gaining traction, and we've even got a couple of new players that I noticed that our fellow panelist Spencer has been talking to. So especially Elementor and Divi, they're the two major I want to focus on. How are you going to deal with their requirements, or is this leading to the point where they will be able to use LifterLMS, but it's going to be at a reduced functionality level?
It's really, there's nobody, the way we design software, we never exclude anybody. So for example, on the LifterLMS Academy site, which is built with Beaver Builder, we updated to 5.0 and our migration ran in the background. And then the forms, even if the rest of your site is built in Elementor, the forms you just manage from the Gutenberg. Sort of like how on a page or post basis, you can choose whether or not to use a page builder or a Gutenberg there. So forms are really not really a battleground for, page builder versus Gutenberg. It's more for this form, and all this user data and display stuff is really more functionality. So it shouldn't really matter that if a Power Elementor user or Divi user, just when they're modifying their checkout form or their enrollment form, they just pop open the forms, they open in Gutenberg, and then they can modify it. And the cool thing is, we released this custom fields add-on on Monday this week of this recording, and within 24 hours, Jack from WP Fusion built an integration with WP Fusion so that the custom fields that happen through your registration on your WordPress LMS site automatically sync with the custom fields in your CRM, which is really powerful. And so, and we've seen this where this is the beauty of the WordPress ecosystem, like Gabriel Gallagher over at Tangible created a tool called LifterLMS, which allows Elementor users to style all the LifterLMS components using Elementor and do the templates and everything. So I think we're going to be just fine. This user stuff is so like just kind of base layer functional. It's not really a conflict with the page builders.
Well, yeah, I can see that. Over to you, Stephen.
I would love to know, like, as you like look at your user base, and I'm sure like you saw a big growth like during the pandemic, or at least I saw a big growth of people like doing online courses and moving in that direction.
Yeah.
Is that continuing? Has it slowed down at all, or are people still like ramping up? Like this, if you are somebody who's an educator today, like there's almost, in my mind, it feels like there's an expectation that you have an online course presence all of a sudden just over the last, year and a half. Do you feel like that's true? And are you seeing like numbers keep increasing, or is it kind of falling off now that people can do more in-person type stuff?
The numbers are continuing to climb. I think the main way I look at it is right as the pandemic started, for about 3 to 4 months, there was an extreme mania where a year from that period, we did have a little bit higher churn rate. Like there was just a lot of like kind of chaos and mania and panic. And but at the same time, our business grew quite a bit just from that push of people going online. And it's one of the reasons why I recommend putting a phone number on your website. I was on calls, like just listening to people like totally pivoting their company to online, new to WordPress, need a solution, walking them through what to do. And yeah, there was definitely an increase there. But as we're kind of rounding the corner from all that time period, I just see nothing but just steady growth. But that mania is not there like it was. But I do think there was it did bring forward like more customers sooner. It basically accelerated the adoption of online learning. And I don't think it's going to be like a full snapback. I think it's actually just been a driver of growth. And what we've seen in WordPress specifically, a lot of the bigger schools and whatnot, now we do have some universities and regular schools using Lifter, but most of the Lifter user base it's bottom-up adoption. So they're innovative, expert entrepreneurs, they're teachers that are more techie and already have like a blog and are leveraging WordPress and stuff like this. These people aren't going to stop. And I also just think the comfort level people have with the technology has just increased as more and more people forced at home have just kind of up-leveled their skills with online and websites and Zoom and really video creation, all cameras, microphones, all the tools that we use as education entrepreneurs building LMS websites. So yes, continued growth from here.
That's cool.
So no, most of my listener base are developer, implementers, WordPress junkies, people that are really interested in WordPress. Now, if they've got clients coming to them that are looking to have them help them build out a membership course-based website, and it's more than one just simple course, they need a learning management system. Why should they look at, what do you think are some of the real core strengths why an implementer developer should look at LifterLMS compared to some of the competitors in the WordPress space, Chris?
Well, there's 2 levels to this question. The first level is like, why WordPress? And I know that's not what you were asking, but the LMS industry is huge. There's like 500 or so LMSs out there. It's crowded. It's kind of insane, really. Most of them are traditional SaaS solutions. They have metered pricing, meaning that more students, the more courses, the more your bill goes up. And you're boxed in, and you don't have design freedom, and you can't extend it beyond their feature set. For all those reasons, a large, or I shouldn't say a large.
Well, I'm sorry to interrupt, but also another key thing is you haven't got access to a platform that's driving over 40% of the website and the enormous ecosystem that's built around that.
Exactly. Yeah. So once you've discovered WordPress, there's not that many options for LMS. And the first thing really is, before you get into the LMSs, some people, I have like what I call a membership site first mentality. And only later, if they've got into this membership plugin, do they realize that what they actually needed was the LMS. So Lifter has all the membership functionality you need already included and built in, but it adds all this other stuff like progression tracking, reporting, analytics, all the structuring of the content into courses and memberships and prerequisites and all this stuff. So at Lifter, what makes us really shine in the space, and I have a lot of respect for the other LMS tools and entrepreneurs behind them out there. There's a few things that really make us different. One is our level of support. Like there's a live call that I've run every week, once a week with our top customers. Jonathan, you've been on that some. That's an example. I don't know of another company that does that. We have these live liftoff session calls for new customers.
I think the other factor is that you're a well-established company with deep roots in the WordPress ecosystem, both you and Tom. Yeah. And you also are available and go on my own roundtable show, but you go on a lot of other things, and your commitment and your company's commitment to be part of the ecosystem is quite clear. I obviously there's a lot of learning management kind of plugins, from companies I never heard of, but the way I see it, there's probably about 3 to 4 serious WordPress focused players in LMS. Your major competitor is LearnDash. Justin and his wife, I'm not as close to them as I am with you, but I totally respect Justin and his wife, and it's a great product. And that's how the cookie crumbles. I wouldn't say a bad thing about LearnDash, and we're totally happy at WP-Tonic to use that as well. But there's a couple others, but fundamentally I see there's only about 4 players that's serious. So
yeah, and it's a really big market. And if you want to talk to, we've got a Facebook group. If you go in there, we've got threads of people who have used both, and they compare Lifter to LearnDash. And there's conversations in there you can check out.
They're both quality products with their own strengths and weaknesses. By being strong in one area, that can mean that your focus has been on other. So when somebody comes to me and says, should I use LifterLMS or should I learn LearnDash? I said, well, I need to know a lot more about you, what you plan to do. And I said, that decision is really linked to a lot of detail. So that's how I face it. But that's how I see it. So in that space of let's say 4 serious players, do you think your one of your major strengths is, which 5.0 has accelerated, is that you have the benefits of still being able to use the power of the WordPress ecosystem, but you got now a very integrated product as well. Would you say that's one of the biggest strengths now of Lifter?
That is, like, all the components that make up of a course can be arranged using the block editor, and we have settings and stuff around that. We have a free version so that people can get started super easy. A lot of people say we're expensive, but really what I would encourage somebody to do is to get the free version of LifterLMS, one payment gateway, and compare that to the other options there, both from a feature set and a price point.
Well, I find that irritating. You must find it even more irritating, because the truth is, LifterLMS is the cheapest way of using, because, like I say, you could just buy an add-on for $99, and off you go, don't you?
Yes, and then a lot of our really top-end add-ons are not even available features in the other tools. So it's I know Stephen will smile when I say this. The way we look at it is we take care of like both ends of the spectrum, and the middle takes care of itself. So if you're a low-cost bootstrapper and you just need low cost, get started, powerful, affordable, you're good. If you're a power user and you want to build like these advanced like coaching programs and advanced assessments and your own social learning thing all into the site, we got you covered there. That costs more. So we're both the cheapest, but also in some ways the most expensive, but most powerful as well. So, but not everybody needs the Lambo. So,
yeah. Well, we're going to wrap up the podcast part of the show. Hopefully, you can stay on for some bonus content, can't you, Chris?
Let's do it.
I'm going to be talking about more the business side of LifterLMS with Chris. About, he's got various things him and his partner have to look at when running LifterLMS in the WordPress ecosystem. I'm just going to ask him some questions about that, because being in that ecosystem have its benefits, but also makes in some ways the situation a little bit more complicated than having just a pure SaaS-based business. So, Chris, how can people find out more about you and what you're up to?
Well, if you like podcasts, check out our podcast, which is called LMS Cast. And if you're interested in learning about LifterLMS, just head on over to LifterLMS.com.
When are you going to have me back on your show, Chris?
I'll send you an invite link right after this call.
Thank you, Chris. Stephen, how can people find out more about you and what you're up to?
Head over to zipfish.io, run a speed test, see how much faster we can make your website.
And if you really want to support the show, I've got two small favors to ask you, listeners and viewers. Can you go to iTunes and give us a review? It really does help the show. And secondly, why don't you go and join the WP-Tonic Facebook group? All the panel members are joining, and I'm trying to build a real community there. It's about WordPress with a focus around marketing, automation, and membership websites. So go over there and join it. The links to the group are in the show notes, so you can just go there and click the button and it will take it and you can join the group. We'll see you next week with another great guest, another great conversation. We'll see you soon. Bye. So, bonus content. So, it's a strange thing trying to build a business in WordPress, because not only are you dealing, I'm just imagining this, putting myself in your shoes, Chris.
Yes.
And I'm sure you'll quickly tell me if I'm wrong here, but you got all the benefits, especially when you're trying to bootstrap and start it, being part of the WordPress community, because it can joining something helps you. You got an audience already there. You're not having to build an audience from the scratch in a way. But when you get to like when you're 5-6 years in, which you are, not only do you got all the normal competitive business things you do if you had a traditional SaaS, but you also got all the things you got to deal with the WordPress community, and having a plugin built on WordPress technology. Can you give some insights? Do you think what I've just said is about right? And maybe you can give some insights about some of the main challenges that you and Tom have to deal with, because you're in these kind of two worlds, aren't you?
Yeah, it's a great question. And we're at LifterLMS is just about 7 years old, so we have been at it a while. And one of the biggest benefits is really the decentralized nature of it, and the community aspect of it. So we allow people to build a platform that they own and control, which is very different from putting your business inside somebody else's website. So, and you can leave at any time. Like you can take your files, you can put it on a different web host. But one just point I'd like to add too is technology deals with layers of abstraction, right? And what I mean by that is, like a lot of the hosting companies we know and love don't actually have their own servers. They're an experience platform built on top of Amazon or Google's infrastructure and a lot of other tools as well. So as technology evolves, you know,
can I just interrupt? I think that's a fantastic term, because that's what I'm trying to partly build with WP-Tonic, is that we provide hosting, but we're providing an experience plus other key features, which I've explained to you, that's aimed at the e-learning entrepreneur. So
yeah, it's about the user. It's about the user, and they want fast, they want easy, they want feature complete. They want to be able to drive the thing, and they want to not waste their time. And also they're okay with spending money, but they don't want to spend too much money for not enough value. Which is one of the great things you have going, Jonathan, is you're adding incredible value and making things a lot faster, easier, less headache and all that. But these layers of abstraction, it's not just WordPress plugins that have these dependencies, right? You know, some random CDN thing goes down and all of a sudden half your apps don't work for like 2 hours and everybody's freaking out on Twitter. We're already all connected. We just don't realize how many dependencies are in the stack. I think the benefits of WordPress far outweigh it. One of our biggest challenges, I would say, and this is true for any WordPress plugin or theme business, is we don't have a kill switch, right? So if people stop paying their annual subscription, their website will continue to work, right? And maybe they just forgot, or their credit card failed and they didn't see the email or whatever. But traditional SaaS has that monthly bill hitting you every month, right? So as an entrepreneur in the WordPress space, you have to add so much value that you can overcome that hurdle that is one of the biggest benefits of SaaS or MRR, monthly recurring revenue subscription business. You have to over deliver like a crazy man to make it work, which we figured out how to do, including giving away some of your best stuff for free. And it's that sounds crazy to some people, but once you've got enough momentum and you've added enough value and you've built the community, business is all about, of the future, in my view, is all about community. More like the brand is shifting to the community from more than it is from the website or from the corporation or from the company. So we have to build community at the same time as we build product or services. And when we do that intentionally, you create a moat that's so powerful and a loyal fan base that will carry you through. But the hardest part with a WordPress business is just surviving the early days. And then the other thing that, you know, makes it easier for us is that we're at the platform level. So it's and so are you, Jonathan. Like you have a platform that people, it's like most of the show is on your software, and that creates a little more stickiness. It's a little harder to compete, especially if you've been innovating for years. And if I were to look back on like how much WordPress, anybody can build anything from scratch at any time. You could build your own LMS plugin, but to build what we've built, I mean, there's at least $500,000 of like investment getting to here. And but luckily we've been able to build a useful product and a thriving community at the same time.
No, thanks for that. It's just a strange, it's a unique thing building an independent business with WordPress, plus you got all the other normal online business pressures if you were a standalone SaaS solution, haven't you? It's
well, there's a couple of I mean, WordPress community is a strength of WordPress. Sometimes there's infighting and conflict and all this, but that's okay. That's part of community. But a lot of other softwares are still in the same world. Like there's a lot of like people need the mobile app developers need the, the app store or whatever. There's Shopify focused softwares. There's Salesforce focused softwares. So there's it's not just WordPress, but yeah, it's no man is an island, as they say.
No, over to you, Stephen.
I think what you were saying about the level of investment that like you guys put into building LifterLMS is the thing that makes WordPress so attractive and so interesting, right? Like you could go out and build your own LMS system. And if you built your own, would it be better? Sure, because it's built exactly for how you need it to. But you're also now $500,000 into building it. And how long does it take to get your revenue back from that, right? To get a profit, to pay off that developer bill that you paid. But like with Lifter, you pay $130, right, for like the lowest plan, and then $1,000 something for the highest plan. Right. And right there. Now you're $500,000 ahead of anybody else who's trying to build their own platform. And
Yes.
that's what makes WordPress so sticky and why it's powering 40% is because you can just grab these off the shelf solutions that are crazy powerful. As a developer, or more of an ex-developer now, there's times where it's just like you get frustrated with WordPress, you get frustrated with how it does things and how plugins interplay and work together. And it's just like, man, I wish I could build my own thing. And so then you start, putting pencil to paper, like, right, if I built this feature and that feature, here's how many hours this would take and how many hours this other feature would take. And then the equation never works out. And you're always back to WordPress because the value is just off the charts compared to other systems out there.
And there's healthy pressure there for continued innovation.
Yeah.
Like if a plugin or a theme or a page builder is like not continuing to innovate, it's very easy to get disrupted.
Yeah.
So I find that tension healthy.
Yeah, for sure.
We mentioned this in the podcast part of the show, and I just wanted to see what, something that you probably thought about quite a bit and had discussions with Tom. Your experienced marketer. Now I ask advice on marketing from you, and you're very generous to give me that advice. I appreciate it, Chris. But as you mentioned in your podcast, you decided that the core product would be free, and you got your Universal and your Infinity bundle, and they're at 2 price points, and your Infinity is, as you have admitted publicly, you intentionally pushed the price point to a level which isn't historic. Most plugin authors would not ask, but it has a lot in it. But as you mentioned in the podcast, that LifterLMS, you said in your own words, you feel it's got a reputation of being expensive, but it isn't, because like, as we said, you get all the functionality, and you can buy either PayPal or Stripe add-on for $99 and off you go. On reflection, do you think you handled all this in a slightly wrong way, and would you do it in a slightly different way?
I wouldn't change it. And just to give the full story there, in 2014, when we first launched LifterLMS, we did not have a free version. We had a paid version. It was $149. After a year or so, we pivoted to the freemium model, and we put our payment gateways as individual add-ons. And then over time, we had enough add-ons that we created a middle bundle and then an everything bundle. I would not change it. And as I learned as a marketer, I'm self-taught. Like I have no business or tech background or marketing background, none of that. But as I was just learning about marketing and online business, but especially marketing, what I learned is that you got to give away your best stuff for free. And there's some phrases for it, like moving the free line. I have a podcast with 400 episodes on it almost. I have a YouTube channel with like 500 videos on it. We've written a lot of blogs. I've been on a lot of other stuff. I help people for free as much as I can, like other entrepreneurs, especially, and stuff. Free is the new black. Like that's what people want. Free is easy to sell. And if you live in a community like WordPress, which really is built on freemium as well, like the free core, and there's a lot of free plugins and free themes. I think it's smart to play by the rules, or not necessarily the rules, but the custom of the culture on the ground.
I think like in the podcast, I haven't, because my questions tend to be a bit long-winded. I apologize. I'm not talking about the reality. I'm talking about perception, because because as you said, the perception, and it came out your own mouth, is that Lifter is expensive, but it isn't, is it? It's not true.
But I have a lot of thoughts on this.
So is there some way that you could have made the offering that could have avoided that perception that you think is there, because you brought it up during the podcast?
This is a great question. Over time, I developed a marketing ability and a selling ability. And there's the fundamental cardinal rule of sales is that people are predictably irrational, right? So people, the logical brain is used very little in the sales process, right? And people are very emotional when it comes to like making a purchasing decision or buying, or even their perception of reality of what they're getting and stuff like that. It's important to always be truthful and ethical and upfront and all that kind of stuff. But from the beginning, I knew we were building something. So we have people who make millions of dollars using our software. And if they're using the most expensive thing we offer right now, that's $1,200 a year. So they're making 99% profit margin on that. I'm sure they have other expenses and whatnot. So for somebody who uses it well and drives it well, it's the best investment you could ever make. That's the rationality of it. Like so I feel comfortable having a high price point, but I knew when we became the most expensive product in WordPress, if you were to buy our top thing, there would be pushback, because, being the most expensive thing, people, they talk about it, or they talk junk about it, or whatever. If there's a mistake or something in there, first, it's hard to fight irrationality. Second, I don't think people realize, they just don't get into the product enough to see that what they could do at the lower end of the packages. Because there's a very clear.
Like I say, you offer a universal. It's really that's why I'm asking you this question, because it's really a difficult one. But do you think the part is they look at the universal and they look at the infinity, and they
sticker shock,
or something goes on in their mind? You must have thought about this very intently.
Yeah. Well, I know at higher price points, they take a moment and they pause, and not all of WordPress, but like WordPress just kind of has a vibe of things are free and relatively low cost, right? And so people they get a little shocked when they see something that costs more than a couple $100 or 100 even, or there's no lifetime deal. And yeah, but it's really just in their mind. And even while we're on this call, like over on my side, I see Slack, and I've seen 2 people buy the Universe bundle and 1 person buy the Infinity bundle. They didn't complain about the price; they just bought it. So it is, it's really just where the person is at. So our challenge as marketers and just business owners is to help people do what they need to do to be set up for success, so that if they do make the investment, that they can get their ROI as soon as possible. This is why we invest so much in our podcasts and get experts to help these people be successful across various topics. It's why we do our live onboarding calls, to make sure they get all the tech issues out of the way so they can get launched. It's why we do the office hours mastermind calls, so that we can get the strategies and just help them accelerate and skip needless pain points or rabbit holes. So, but there will, I think there will always be some pushback on the price. And when people make comparisons, you know, like a blogger or a YouTuber, or like if somebody's doing like the challenge with our space is a lot of the content out there, there's not really that good comparison stuff.
The only thing that comes to mind is that what I've learned is what is obvious to me is not obvious to your audience.
Yes.
So you always have to be putting what you think they should know automatically. They don't. So do you feel that in some ways you need to be more effective in your own marketing and your own positioning about the fantastic value that LifterLMS is, that you get this $500,000 investment and you can be up and running and taking payments for an add-on for $99?
Yeah, I'm always open to improve. And it happens to us as, you know, entrepreneurs. Sometimes we get so close to our product, we don't see our blind spots as well. So I agree with you that there's there's room for improvement there on the positioning.
No, I'm just wondering, because I'm sure you've been thinking about that yourself.
Yeah. I mean, helping the thing that I see in our space is that by the time someone gets done the email or the phone, or they come to the group sales calls we run with pre-sales questions or a webinar, they're just exhausted. Like when people go shopping for software, especially in this LMS, like membership, there's like kind of three personalities I see. One is like somebody who has a big dream, a lot of hope, first time, and they're like ready. They're just open to anything. And then you've got somebody who's really disgruntled. They used another tool in WordPress or not in WordPress, and they're really looking hard to make a change, but they feel burned and they need like they just want to make sure everything's cool. It does what they want it to do.
I'll give you an example. This the example Kajabi, and I think Kajabi and the two founders behind Kajabi are fantastic marketers. I think you would agree with me.
Yeah.
And they've been very effective about positioning their product and giving it the reputation that it's really very, very easy to use. And when people ask me that compared to WordPress, I said, yeah, there are benefits because you have a more integrated interface. But if you come from a background where you've never built anything, never built a website or never built anything online, I feel, and this is what I say to people, you're going to find it a very steep learning curve on Kajabi, and the same would apply on WordPress. Both are going to be quite a steep learning curve. Both have strengths and weaknesses. But what I'm saying is, I think the Kajabi founders and their marketing they're not lying, but their marketing, and I'm going to use a detrimental term, spin, has been so effective. Would you agree with some of the things I've just said there?
Yeah, I mean, like in some ways, WordPress has a bad rap. Like people says, oh, it's too complicated or whatever. So, but like you said, Jonathan, every technology has a learning curve. So if you're at the beginning, in my opinion, you might as well learn WordPress because it's going to be way more customizable and affordable for you down the road. Yeah, in SaaS or software marketing, the pitch or the hook, if you will, or the promise, it's really the promise is the fastest, easiest way to do X without all the pain or whatever. So they're, from what I've seen, they do a good job of like pitching the speed and the ease and the, without like having to patch together all these different systems. In reality, like I know a lot of people, like in many ways, like Lifter as an example is a comprehensive solution, but if you do want to patch something in, you can, whereas you can't when you're in somebody else's SaaS. And then they'll talk about their Zapier integration, but not everything connects to Zapier, and those are often underpowered for what you actually need. Whereas like, a WordPress or this thing integrates with that thing is usually really full featured and has like tons of features. So, yeah, I think the market wants fast and easy.
I just think they've been fantastic with their positioning and their message, haven't they? And
well, part of it I just want to add is sometimes like with WordPress, like we have two kinds of users. We have like agencies, and then we have do-it-yourselfers or freelancers, do-it-yourselfers, and other folks like you who build like these amazing products on top of it to simplify the experience and add more value. But it's really that do-it-yourselfer you're talking about, that they want to do it themselves and they start shopping for technology. But a lot of people who use our tool are like, they're building it for their client.
Yeah.
So there's all these different angles on the market. It's really fascinating actually, because some softwares have like a really clear customer, but as much as I try to focus on like a WordPress professional, an expert, a business owner who's trying to train their employees, a school trying to do remote learning, they're all coming in simultaneously, and the people that they're hiring to build the site. So they're just kind of all over the place.
I think respectful of your time. I think we'll end the discussion. It's been fantastic as normal having you on the show, Chris. And thanks, listeners and viewers, if you're watching this bonus content, which you should be. We'll see you next week when we have another great interview. We'll see you soon, folks. Bye.